As you center yourself this morning, I want you to just listen, just become aware. The challenge, the concern, the reality is that as you tap into your discipline, you're tapping into a potential paradoxical danger. Let me explain. Once someone claims, as you claim your discipline, they often become painfully aware of how undisciplined the world around them is. And that contrast can trigger some social friction. Think about that for just a moment. We're going to dive into that. The challenge with becoming disciplined is that you're going to become painfully aware of how undisciplined the world is around you. And that contrast will trigger some social friction. Maybe not for you, for those around you. So let's make sure we're aware of that. And that's our conversation this morning. Discipline shifts your identity, and your identity shifts your tribe. Just become aware of this. When someone begins to live with intention, to live with boundaries, to live with structure, the world notices, and not always positive. Not always positively do they see it. Why? Because your new discipline becomes a mirror, and most people don't like what they see in it. Think about maybe some individuals you've encountered in your world who are disciplined. Now, maybe they weren't always disciplined in the positive way. Addicts are very disciplined, right? And they create some social friction. Not saying that's the discipline you want. I'm simply inviting you to see that discipline is when somebody is wildly focused and they're able to maintain that vision. Addicts can do that pretty darn well, right? So I'm just offering you this understanding that as you begin to break into, to break down, to break through, to create clarity, as you access and remember your discipline, that you might create some friction, that some friction might be generated around where you're at, around what you're doing. Because remember, as you begin to act, people begin to see this mirror of you doing the things that you want to do. Use keeping your word. So there's this external feedback loop that sabotages discipline. I just want you to be aware, because there's two sides to every story. There's two sides to this conversation. Yes, becoming disciplined is fantastic. It helps to elevate your skills, your talents, your ability. It helps you arrive at your goals so much faster with less effort. And yet, you're still in your world. You're still in your environment of the people you love, the people you care for, the people you do business with. So I want you to be aware and kind of become the reporter as you become aware of this information. You become confronting to others. What do I mean? Your consistency exposes their avoidance. Your clarity kind of irritates their confusion. And your no threatens their access to you. See, one of the things as you begin to implement and remember your discipline is you will wind up saying no to some things that you absolutely know don't serve you. So when you say no to people and no to things, they'll feel like they're losing access to you. And it's not just, it's access to your procrastination, access to your delay. They no longer have access to or influence over. Does that make sense? This can trigger some criticism. Subtle criticism, maybe some aggressive, passive-aggressive criticism. They may say things like, "You're so insane lately." Or they may mock you and say, "Can't you just relax?" Or they try to use guilt to manipulate you. You've changed, right? This is why I teach we have to let people know we're going on a trip. You don't necessarily have to invite them. You're just letting them know you're going on a venture. On this adventure to see what more you're capable of. So, there's a part of the brain, that back part of the brain called the mammalian brain. We call it the alligator brain, right? There's the conscious, subconscious, and then there's that at the very base of the brain, connected directly to the spinal cord, is this mammalian brain that's wired for belonging, over performance. So your belonging gets threatened. And a lot of people, when they go off on this journey of becoming tougher and disciplined and focused, they wind up feeling like they're not connected. And because they begin to lose that connection without an awareness, they say this isn't worth it, and they go back to their old state. So when the tribe no longer mirrors your level of discipline, because right now the people you hang around are probably as disciplined as you are. And when you activate this higher level of discipline, Your mammalian brain says, we're not as much part of the group anymore, part of the tribe. So you unconsciously start dimming yourself. You lower your discipline bar so you can stay relatable. And you choose connection over calling, over your DMP, your ideal state. And this creates a tug of war. This is who I'm becoming. Will they still love me if I change? We ask ourselves these questions. Sometimes we see it physically. So it's important to become aware of these things that are happening, and with your curiosity and your awareness, you begin to see these things. You might get a little excited knowing that you're shifting, you're transforming, and you can do it with love. You can do it with care. You can do it with peace. The key is to know that it might happen, to know that it will happen. So what happens is that as we become more disciplined, we wind up realizing or seeing the subtly assigned roles that exist in our family, that exist in our social connection, right? Discipline reveals the internalized roles. There's the easygoing one. There's the helper, right? These are just examples. The procrastinator, the flake, the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And when you begin to live this disciplined alignment, it disrupts the unconscious agreement of who you're supposed to be. Right? What have they labeled you as? Have they labeled you as the easygoing one, or the procrastinator, the flake, the cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? So as you begin living your disciplined alignment, stepping back into that version of you that already exists, it disrupts this unconscious agreement between you and them of who you're supposed to be. Right? Remember when you were little and they said, "Have you lost your mind?" And you hadn't. You just did something that was a little crazy. If we really look at the statement, "Have you lost your mind?" what they're really saying is that I've lost you in my mind. I can't find you. You acted in a way that doesn't make any sense. I don't have a story for the way you acted. So rather than say, I lost you in my mind, they reach out to you and say, have you lost your mind? And maybe you did temporarily, but the bigger issue is that they, the witness, the seer of you, doesn't have a new story of what you're doing. You stop playing the role you were supposed to have played in this agreement, and others may not know how to respond without you in that role. So then we get to the big part. Discipline often leads to elevation, correct? Elevation leads to isolation. And isolation, if not navigated consciously, can lead to self-sabotage. If my growth means losing the people I love, maybe it's safer to stay small. How many of us have ever thought that? Maybe we haven't thought it. Maybe we've just done it. Maybe that's the self-sabotage that happens as we access our success. Does this make sense? It's just to make you aware of it. Because if you're aware of it, you can then deal with it. You can have a response to it. Say, yep, okay, that's happening. They're frustrated because they're not sure who I am. It's not that they don't like it. It's they just don't have a story for it. That makes sense? Sometimes we might say, we might revert, right? We have a temptation to revert back to who we are. Let me just skip the gym this one time to avoid the eye rolls. You know, sometimes maybe we're traveling, we're on vacation, or we're doing something, and we say, well, I need to get to the gym. And they get the eye rolls. It's like, oh my gosh, we're on vacation. Can't you just? I need to go for my walk. Can't you just? So you want to skip that thing this one time, just so you could avoid the eye rolls. Or let me soften my goals so I don't intimidate them, right? Let me laugh at the joke that mocks structure so I stay likable. I know I've done all these things. I've been that person. Maybe not the gym person, but other things, right? Each of these moments chips away at the very identity that we're building. They chip away at the very identity that we are building. We want to do personal development, but it's hard when you've got people with jackhammers lovingly attacking you, chipping away this thing you're building called discipline. So how do we teach our audience? How do we teach those around us? As you rise in your discipline, the world will first resist you. Then they'll question you. Then they'll try to pull you back. This is not a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're shifting identity at a level most people fear. Let me say that again. As you rise, as you elevate, as you become more disciplined, your world will first resist you. Even you will resist you. You won't get up at 5 o'clock. You won't do the exercise. You won't drink the water. You will begin to resist you. You're the first one who's going to resist your discipline because of all of these unconscious, subconscious, mammalian thoughts that are going on in your mind, unless or until you begin to have the conversation. So as you rise in discipline, The world will first resist you. Then they'll question you. Are you okay? What are you doing? Why are you doing that? What's going on in your world? You've changed. Then they try to pull you back. The first time you stumble or struggle, they'll say, see, it's not worth it. Why don't you just come back to the average, to the commonplace? Come back to the squalid. This isn't a sign you're doing it wrong. It's proof you're shifting identity at the level most people fear. See, you can change the way you do average and nobody says anything, right? Think about it. That one might hurt a little bit. You can change the way you do average. Nobody cares, right? You've set goals before and you've struggled, and you've set some new goals and you've struggled, and you've really not set the goals that created the freedom that you wanted. So you're okay. You're a struggler. When you begin to rise in your discipline, they will resist you. You will resist you to begin with. And then once you get over you, my mentor would say to me, get over yourself and get on with life. Then you start to get questioned by your outside world. Then they try to pull you back. It's proof that I was shifting my identity at a level the majority of people around me feared. So here's a self-talk statement. It's okay to be misunderstood while I upgrade. I'm no longer available for being liked at the cost of being aligned. I'm no longer available for being liked at the cost of being aligned with my dreams. Sounds a little brash, yet you're going to have to get a little mad to get what you want, to get to what you want. You're going to have to get mad with yourself. You're going to have to get a little crazy mad. It's okay to be misunderstood while I upgrade. You may even misunderstand some of the things you're doing. When your discipline takes over and it is driven by your definite major purpose, you will do things you've never done before so you can have things you've never had before, which will make you feel a way you've never felt before. That is a recipe for potential disaster if you are not prepared for it, if you are not actively aware that you're going to do things you've never done. You're going to do some things you've done in a different way that's totally uncomfortable. All of this makes you feel a way you've never felt, makes you act a way you've never acted in the world that's expecting you to show up in a certain way. And you are changing that on a day-by-day basis. And they're not ready for it. Oh, they want you to succeed. But at a subconscious level, they don't want you to change one bit. So here's a final expression, final metaphor to help you anchor this in. Discipline is a tide shift. Imagine some boats that are sitting on a shore, sitting on ground because the tide has gone out. Because they've been sitting on the ground for so long, they never really anchored themselves. They just sit there. Nothing is going to move them. Nothing is taking them away. And then all of a sudden, you bring in this tide of discipline. And you are raising and elevating yourself. What do they say about a rising tide? It lifts all boats. Discipline is a tide shift. Some people will drift away. Some will try to resist the current. And some will learn to swim toward you. Your job is not to manage their reaction. Listen carefully. Your job is to become the tide. Discipline is a tide shift. Some people will drift away. Some will resist the current. Some will learn to swim toward you. Your job is not to manage their reaction. Your job is to become the tide. Where does your body feel this awareness? Where do you feel any resistance? Put your energy towards that. Say, and I love that. Bring your awareness to any place that's resisting this conversation. Let yourself flow into it. Become aware. This is who you're becoming. This is what you're doing to make yourself better, to make your world better, to make the world around those who you love and care for better. They want better. They want more. It's okay for you to deliver it. Maybe you slipped off into meditation. Maybe not. Just become aware. Bring your body, bring your attention back to this moment in time. Look for things around you that are maybe orange. That might be a tough one. Look for things that are orange as you awaken. Feel your body stretch. Give yourself a little JM3 and realize only God knows and you know what you're going through. And it's time for you to step up, to become the voice, to become the vision. Get yourself some water. Stretch, roll your shoulders, roll your neck, expand your body. Good morning. We'll be back in just a moment.
Too afraid of what might show up while you're dreaming. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you. And every day you try to pick up all the pieces, all the memories, they somehow never leave you. Nobody sees you. Nobody will believe you. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows. You keep a cover over every single secret. So afraid if someone saw them they would leave. But somebody sees you. Somebody will never leave you. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning. What did you hear? What did you feel? What did you learn? What did you like? Questions, comments, thoughts? Good morning.
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Wheezy.
How are you?
Outstandingly disciplined.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for being outstandingly disciplined and for sharing and for what you did this morning. It's just it was an answer to this gigantic question I had, this conversation that I've had with myself yesterday was awful.
Well,
Awful.
then you're probably the reason that I was woken up physically by my archetypes saying, you got to tell them. I'm like, tell them what? You got to tell them. That's all they kept saying is, you got to tell them. Like, tell them what? You know what you got to tell them. You got to tell them. And so that's what you got told this morning.
Thank you, thank you for listening, because
I didn't want to listen because it's oh,
this
now you mean I got to deal with all of this? Yeah. But if you
I
don't tell
thought I
them,
was losing my mind.
well,
I just
good.
went,
Yes, finally. Right?
I went, what? Basically, like, what's the problem? This is logical. You understand it, and there is, oh my gosh, it my mind and my body were battling all day long. It was just awful, and was I'm so happy to know this, that all right, to be expected. I mean, I'm figuring there have been times, we've talked to us about how you make a little bit of an upgrade, there'll be an attack. I'm sort of prepared for this. This was all just full out. I don't know. It was
It's a
like
war.
D-Day. It was,
Yeah.
oh my word. And I'm like, okay, I've lost my mind. Yay, hooray. But this is something that I now I now understand, and I'm feeling so less completely cuckoo. I
Well,
don't mind.
and so now that it's okay to move, it's okay to move through the cuckoo,
Yeah,
but the cuckoo's not going to get any less.
no, I get that. I get that now.
But it's going to get
Right
more fun.
now, pardon?
It's going to get more fun.
Oh, that's awesome. But really, yesterday I was so tight in my solar plexus,
The
and
doing.
yeah, oh my, I mean, it's so tight. And I
And that's
did
because you were doing.
tapping. And yeah, I was doing all of these things to really, I'm thinking it's your tension and all of this. Anyway, even last night I was tapping in bed. I'm just like, help, I need an answer. And thank you. You heard, you answered, and now it's
Well,
okay for me to be to the former self, or how would I describe that? To misunderstand what's going on, but to keep going.
well,
Because I'm released now. I don't have that tightness. It's like gone.
well, this is why we have to have a dialogue with ourselves. A lot of times we have we have intense monologues with ourselves. So hopefully I'll do a good enough job to explain this. A lot of times we'll have intense monologues. You're an idiot. Why am I an idiot? You're an idiot. Well, I'm so stupid. Those are intense monologues. We have to have a dialogue. I'm so stupid. Who's aware that I'm stupid?
Oh,
Because the I that said it is not the one that's stupid. It said, I am so stupid. Well, that means somebody has to be smart, because if you were all stupid, you wouldn't know you're stupid.
good point.
So we have to have a dialogue, not intense monologues with ourselves. And when we understand the power of dialogue, we now become crazy. Hang on. Right? We start talking to ourselves. Well, that's just cuckoo. Now you're really stupid. No, it might be the first time we become sane. The only difference between us and the crazy guy downtown who has the sign, "Will work for money," or "Give me $10," is that they're speaking out loud. We're doing it. We're beating ourselves up silently in our own mind. And when you begin to verbalize, when you begin to audibly verbalize your thinking, you slow down your thoughts from crazy 1,400 words a minute down to 100 or so. We go from 80,000 thoughts a day. What if we could just get rid of 20,000 thoughts that aren't serving us? Can you imagine what kind of freedom would happen if you just gave up 20,000? It means you're still having 60,000 thoughts. What if you could get that number down to 20,000? To go from give up 60,000 thoughts your body is going to go through today. 50,000 thoughts your body is going to go through today. Just what if we gave those up by staying focused? Discipline. Avoiding the procrastination, avoiding the delay, avoiding this continuous story of beating ourselves up. What would happen? What would you think about? What would be such a draw to you that you could stay focused for 5 minutes on a blossom of a flower, 5 minutes on the love of a child, 5 minutes on the love for yourself? There's 15 minutes and 3 thoughts. That's
curious to find out.
Yeah. And then if we start to ask that, then what has to happen? The brain, because of the way it's wired and designed, if we ask a novelty question, what would it be like to just focus for 5 minutes on my love, on somebody I love tremendously? What would it be like? The brain says, I don't have any data on that. If you're curious to find out, we could begin that process. And all of a sudden, you begin the process. Then what happens subconsciously, the mammalian brain, because all of a sudden we're disconnecting from this environment that we were at a mammalian level, meaning at a below even the subconscious, we wind up doing things like spilling coffee. Getting a text from somebody that, the hell are they texting me for? To pull us out of this, because we are about to shift our identity from somebody who has 60, 70,000 thoughts a day to somebody who's going to have one thought for the next 5 minutes. Do you know how much of an identity shift that is? How much of a cataclysmic clashing of worlds and an explosion at such an energetic level simply by focusing? I love the baby lambs because I'll get to sit with them. I'll go sit with them in a stall because they can't keep me out of their stalls. They haven't figured out how to lock me out. I figured out how to lock them in. And I can go sit and watch them. And an hour will go by. And I'm like, holy mackerel. And I'm looking at the curls in their wool, and where's their little marks on their faces, and how does their eyes different, and how is it just like Gizmo's, and where does Mama's trait come in, and what did Gizmo's mom and dad look like? Right? I know what Zorro's mom and dad look like, Bunny and probably Gizmo. I know what their mom and dad look like, but what did their mom and dads look like? So I get to sit in this focused little world of Zorro or Amelia or Ainsley. Ainsley has this little tattoo of a smile that goes on the sides of her cheeks. None of our sheep have that little, but I can usually trace any of the particulars. Now, Axel, Lily's baby, Lily's buck, has 2 different wools. He's literally wearing a shirt. And from about his chest all the way around, he's got tight curly up this way. And the back half of him is the long, like alpaca wool. It's the craziest little thing. Wow. But I get to sit and stare at that. I look at that. So what I'm saying is that congratulations on yesterday. Condolences on today.
I
Right?
hear you.
Because now you can't go back.
No.
Now, if you go back, that's your fault. Before you were getting agitated, aggravated, everything else, that wasn't your fault. You didn't have a way to see it. You now see behind the curtain. You've now gone behind the wizard. Congratulations, maybe.
Well, thank you. I'm so grateful and in gratitude for this morning. It wasn't a question about getting on. That was more of a sort of a body thing.
Yeah.
But
Well, now become aware, right? That's the neuro encoding. If you ask, right, whenever we feel our body resisting, you can ask, how old is this resistance? And you'll start to become quite amazed at the responses you'll get when you start to have these true dialogues with yourself. That's why you'll hear me say when we're doing conversations, listen, you're the one asking the question. It is your right to get the answer. Nobody can hide the answer to you from inside. Well, I don't know. No, that's you staying the same. Napoleon Hill it. Listen, subconscious, you got to give me the answer. And it will reveal itself because you are now requesting it. You're in control. When you start to control this, so when you start to feel your body, when I'll feel my body resist things, I'll go, how old is that? And sometimes it'll be a giggle. It's like, I don't know, but if there's a time before time, that's how old this is. Holy crap-a-mony.
Well, thank you. I realize I have not been having I didn't have a dialogue yesterday at all.
No, you were having hundreds of multiple intense monologues, and nobody wanted to hear the other one. And so you would shift blame, aka focus. Why is my body hurt? This is stupid. I'm getting a headache. This is ridiculous. What the hell's going on? I don't think this worked. And they were each an individual monologue, because if you go back, I just heard your giggle going, oh my God, it was like people taking a ticket at a bakery to come up and yell at me. Next, who's next? You're an idiot. Okay, who's next? And when you start to feel this, and when you start to become aware of this, what you'll wind up is that the next time they start arguing, you're like, okay, can we all do it at once? Can we just all get in the theater and you all scream at once so we can get this over with?
Yeah.
And it'll sound like they're cheering for you.
And I'll take it. Yes. Thank you. This has just been wonderful. And I can
now, here's the thing to become aware of. This is going to happen to everyone who wants to follow you.
Oh.
Right? Isn't when the empty nester is no longer the empty nester, when they're no longer the title?
It's the role.
So you had the role of, I'm this old, I'm this, I'm that, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this. You had all of that. That's the discussion you had yesterday. You were shifting your identity yesterday without much success.
Yeah. A lot of discipline bombs of past incredible records of discipline without me even thinking about it.
And so isn't it going to take discipline for anybody to follow your suggestions?
Oh, yeah.
So isn't it good that you went through this? Isn't it good that you can start to make them aware?
Yes.
Right? We had the conversation that when all of a sudden that the kids are gone, you said it was a big aha. They start to lose their friends. It takes discipline to keep going out with friends. We'll do things for our kids, but we won't do things for ourselves. So when the kids are gone, We don't go on the play dates anymore. We don't take them to soccer practice or lacrosse practice, and we got no reason to go sit in the stands with people. Isn't it kind of weird if somebody sits in the stand? If I went back to Plano West and sat in the stands, they'd be like, "Who's your kid?" "Oh, he graduated 3 years ago." Are you supposed to be here?
And that's almost a like, okay, were there rules?
Well, that's
Who
the
wrote the
societal.
rules?
Those are the societal rules.
Yeah.
Right. And so society dictates how we're supposed to act. Well, you still have your world to act in.
Right. Right.
And if we know that, we can tell a new story.
Oh, I love it.
Big shift, huh?
Big. Thank you.
So
Thank
that's
you.
what you're
Thank you.
looking for when you start to have clients. Express to them, there'll be a moment that all of this discomfort, law of opposites says that if you have all this discomfort,
Yeah.
all of the comfort exists just below the surface. If I'm lucky enough to get to work with you, we'll wind up in the comfort spot a lot sooner than you ever expected. Would that be okay? The only reason nobody goes through the pain is because they don't know what they're going to arrive at. They know, right? We've become so comfortable in our pain zone, our comfort zone, that we're afraid to leave it because we don't know how much more pain, if this is comfort and it's pain, how much pain more painful is the freedom zone? It's got to be more painful. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep my ass stuck in the comfort zone.
That is an assumption, isn't it?
It is. The unknown is usually more painful than the known, which is why we'll go back and we'll say, listen, I'd rather go back to college when I failed to, I didn't go to college, but if I did, I probably would have failed something. And that would have been less embarrassing than what I'm about to go do when I speak on stage.
Except we don't know how that's going to be.
Unless we're prepared.
Yeah.
And the way we're prepared is to know that to know this conversation is going to happen, to know that we're going to self-sabotage ourselves, not because we want to sabotage ourselves, is because we're afraid of leaving people behind. I'm responsible to you, not for you. That was when you get that, when that shift happens. All too often when we're moms and caretakers, I'm a dad, I've never been a mom. I've been accused of being a woman, but I'm not a mom. But this caretaker mindset, this caretaker mentality that is woven and wired in this community that is created around moms to help take care of babies and to take care of children, and this community, and they're sick. What do? We need to have this group of authoritarian people that we can ask for help because we don't want to cause any more pain for those around us. The second we get into a place to where we want to go serve people, sell them something, teach them something, we wind up giving our all and they don't want it. And we're like, I don't know why I'm so bad. No, they weren't ready to say I want to be good. We have to be responsible to them, not for them. And that seems like you're literally, well, that means I'm just going to be mean to people. No, we got to come up with a new story. You mean if they don't want to take care of themselves and they won't let you take care of them, the fact that you don't want to give all you got and be exhausted and empty and giving from an empty cart, if you don't do that, means you're mean? Well, that's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, it is.
Right? So we have the key is identity.
Yep.
And so you're dealing with the highest identity. They've owned it for 20 years, 30 years. If they've had 4 or 5 kids, they've owned it for 40 years. And now you're saying, give that up. Which is why it might serve you to work with the people who they're starting in kindergarten. You know, we've got to, we're creating an identity now that's going to last for the next 20 years. And on year 21, it is not going to serve you at all. 20 years preparing for year 21, and nobody's prepared for year 21.
And that was such a revelation to say, hey, this new identity, how old is it? 5 minutes. Like, okay. Then it's 5 minutes old, or it's kindergarten, or it's so young. It's not even mature enough to be handled in what I used to process as, well, I'm this old, so I should know.
Right.
How can I? It's brand new. It just got birthed.
And it's not an old story if we used it today. Oh, that's my old story. No, it's not an old story. You lived it today. That is your current story. We lie to ourselves. Oh, I just can't get rid of my old story. What old story? That I'm not good enough. That's not an old story. You said that today. That's a today story. We lie to ourselves continuously.
Yeah. We do.
All so that we can be accepted.
And sometimes just by ourselves.
Yeah. So, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just love you so much. Appreciate it.
You say that now. You weren't saying it yesterday.
I was trying to. I really was. I was screaming.
I wanted to love you
at my tree. I was saying, call Sean over. We need to talk.
Well, you got me at about 3:15 this morning.
Well, thank you for listening.
Listen, I had no choice.
I love you, Sean.
Love you too. Good morning. Anyone else? Last thoughts, comments, questions. Take with you. Take away. What'd you learn? What'd you like?
Good morning, Sean.
Good morning, Silka.
How are you doing, Sean?
Outstanding.
I'm glad you are outstanding every day. Okay, so we have spoken so much about discipline. I think it's been over a week now.
Yep.
And it appears to me the more we speak about discipline, the less disciplined I feel. Why? I'm glad it makes you laugh.
It's predictable. That's why it's laughable. It's absolutely predictable. Go ahead, continue.
Well, I set a plan.
Yep.
And I do the reach outs, but then I don't get the responses that I'm expecting to get. So then I start thinking, okay, perhaps I'm wasting my time doing it this way. So then I reach out to get help and I don't receive any help. And so it's like a vicious cycle in my head, kind of. So how can I fix it?
So what would make you think it's not working?
I'm not getting the responses I'm expecting, and I'm not earning the money I want to earn.
Okay. So if you're not getting the responses you're expecting, then the reach out has to be different.
Correct. So that's why I reached out to get help, but I didn't receive the help I wanted to get.
Okay. So
the people that I contacted.
Sure. So the question then becomes, what would be a different way to reach out?
Well, that's my question.
Okay. So you're a smart cookie. You're got brains, you got brilliance, you got beauty, you got a lot of the things that a lot of people think that you're just swimming in success because of the way you present yourself. and there's this big lack of the success on your side of the mirror. So what would be a different way to reach out?
Well, like I said, that's where I'm.
I get it. I get it. But let's come up with a different way to reach out. You know what you're doing.
Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm just not, I have not the correct skills and the correct verbiage, and I'm simply not personalizing what I send out. I'm
Okay.
simply,
So
I'm
see,
simply
look
saying,
at that.
I need to,
Look what
I
you're
need to
doing. You're
reach
already
out.
aware of it. So how do you personalize it? What would you do different? Now, it's going to take work. This is maybe where the frustration comes in. I got to learn more stuff. This is ridiculous. Can't somebody just tell it to me? Can't I just automate the system?
Yes, I just want an automated system, and that's what I've been asking for, but nobody's been helpful.
Well,
I mean,
because nobody's got
people
one.
out there. There's people out there that say they get, say, 20 new customers, 30 new customers a day.
Okay, so
well,
now the
they
question
must
is,
have a system, because there's no way that they reach out to that many people and they say, "Oh, with my system," but I don't know what their system is. And
okay.
when I
So
ask and I post in groups and asking, hey, what kind of system do you use to generate? Because this is just one product and well, let me see, and customers.
okay,
I'm not looking for any business partners for this particular product.
okay,
Just because it is on a huge sale right now, and I know I have, last year I signed up almost 100 people for this.
okay.
So many didn't buy because they say it was too expensive, but maybe that was just an excuse. So
Right.
now it's dropped by $30, which is huge.
Right.
And it's only for a limited time. So this is specifically what I'm concentrating on, because I'm thinking I want to get a lot of customers so I can start earning some residual income with this product.
Okay.
But when you have one product, how can you automate it? There must be a particular automation that other people use that get all these customers. You see what my brain is like thinking.
Sure. So I heard just from an energetic standpoint, there's a lot of, I want to get customers so I could create residual. What's the benefit they get from using your product?
Well, they get to be healthier. They get better hair growth. They get
Okay, so
super,
who
super,
wants better hair growth? What unique demographic typically wants better hair growth?
I think almost everybody. Women do, men
Okay,
do.
so women
Well,
that
men
are,
too. Don't you want better hair growth?
I get it, but it's easier for you to speak to a female who wants better hair growth than to a guy who wants better hair growth, because if a guy has better hair growth, it's wildly ego, and he's talking to a beautiful, when they see your profile picture, maybe I can, and then they turn into stupid bald guys or stupid hair growth guys, and they wind up not wanting to talk about their hair growth because their ego gets in the way. So women, if you find your niche, you can't be everything to everyone. I would go find your niche, talk to women, probably in their 40s. There's some women who are in their 20s who are losing their hair or wish they could have better hair growth, but usually it's in their 40s or 50s. And I would market to them. Listen, are you afraid to comb your hair because more shows up in the brush than on your head?
Well, that's a good one. Why
Right?
why did I not reach out to you for this assistance, and I reach out to people that just not even responding to me?
Well, because I'm not afraid to give away the secret, because the secret is connection. And what you might also find out is that maybe they don't know.
Well, it's their product, so they should know.
Well, anybody who's a parent should know how to raise a kid, but not all kids are raised the way they should.
But they huge leaders in this space.
Yeah, but
for
and that's the problem
40
with
years.
That's the problem with network marketing. Because they're huge leaders, still doesn't mean they're qualified. It just means they've been in long enough to find the right people. And then there's a lot of leaders out there, not all of them, but more than you would expect, were born on third base and thought they hit a triple.
It's funny.
And
But
I'm glad you're giggling, because you know exactly what I'm talking about. They were born on third base and they're like, look at me, I hit a triple. You didn't hit a triple, you were born there. You lucked into it. 15 years ago, you found somebody who's been a leader and you've had all the success. Anyways, that's a whole nother story. But that's what I would. Hey, listen.
That is very true. I mean, but I only look at, hey, you've had all the success. Please help me, because I'm obviously missing some skill. And yes, I'm not very good at well, I shouldn't say that.
There you go. You're getting better.
I'm not very creative with coming up. Like, I would have never thought, because yesterday I was even trying to use the AI, and it was just giving me way too much, and it was not giving me what I wanted. But you just saying, are you afraid to brush your hair every morning?
Well,
because,
listen, and the reason I
mean,
know this,
never even thought of that. I don't know. I'm more like a more factual person. I get more a creative person, and people love that because it's a better connection.
So the reason I know this is not because I ever was afraid to brush my hair. I'll never forget it. It stuck with me, and it hurt. And it hurt in a way that I didn't know. I knew there was something I could do, and I didn't know I needed to be doing it. Let me explain. Okay. Michelle she'd go into the shower, and this was before we moved to the ranch. This was probably, dare I say, a decade ago now. And she always used to, she goes, where's my headband? And she would always wear a headband into the shower. I'm like, what do I know, right? Well, and she said, because she was afraid to wash her hair. But why are you afraid to wash your hair? Well, because more winds up in the drain. I go, why didn't you tell me this? I said, we're network marketing. I can go find somebody who's got something who you can have a conversation with and explain to it, and they'll give you the exact product, the nutritional, whether it be external or internal, that would help. And sure enough, we did. Right? Mm-hmm. So I know that fear. I don't know the fear. I know of the fear of a woman who's afraid to brush her hair because of all of the hair that winds up in the comb of the brush. You got something that helps with that? They don't care what it costs. Saving 30%, saving $30 doesn't matter to a woman whose hair's falling out. The challenge is them having to admit that I need that product.
You're kind of like the fat lady in the plane that needs the extension.
Yeah, don't want to ask for it, but you got to buckle the seat, lady.
I get that, yes, because I've seen that with my own eyes.
So you can even explain that. Listen, I've traveled enough that I've seen people embarrassed to ask for the seat extension. You want to know something that's even more embarrassing? Asking for something to keep your hair in your head. That's the thing that you see. You don't have to get on a plane to know that you're losing your hair. That's a serious concern. We have a product that probably will help with that. So the challenge is novelty, right? We got to say something different. Yes. But we also have to be truthful, and when you have a solution, it's okay to be the one who pokes at the wound, going, that's not healing. There's a lot of people say, you should heal that, and then they go off on their way. If you have something that helps with that maybe there's scientific, maybe there isn't, maybe there's anecdotal evidence. I don't know if you've ever had your hair, like those days you're like, oh my God, you looked at your brush and went, oh my God. If you can speak from that, if not, you can speak from a story of people who have used the product.
Well, I've seen the hair growth on my own hair where.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah.
Listen,
I mean,
there's a lot of people who dye their hair blonde, and dyeing their hair, coloring their hair is really rough on their hair. So a lot of times people are afraid to, right? They let their roots grow out because they're like, well, if I dye my hair again, I'm just gonna I'm gonna wind up. I'm afraid to brush my hair.
You're more like a woman than a man. I'm sorry, it just popped in my head.
But my point is that isn't this true? So if you can speak to your audience, say, hey, listen, how many of you are afraid to get that next coloring because you know what the brush is going to look like? Yeah, I mean, you're speaking some real tough, and I can, like you said, get out of my head. I can have these conversations not because I am, it's because that's my audience. I know my audience. And I know there's women who are, this is going to sound crazy, who have shoulder pains because a part of their anatomy is much larger than they think, is much larger than they'd like it to be. And their shoulders hurt and they're constantly stressed, but there's nothing they could do. And they could think about getting a reduction, but that's their whole identity. I mean, these are things, my audience wears glasses. I wear glasses. I used to wear contacts. I stopped wearing contacts so I could wear glasses, so they'd be like, oh, that's one more thing. He's like me.
I wear contacts. I would never wear glasses.
And I get it. That my audience wears glasses.
I don't.
You have corrective lenses. Let me say that my audience has corrective vision.
But you didn't know that until I just told you.
Well, I kind of did, because I saw some of the reflection when you would look here at the ranch. When you would look, I could see the reflection of the contacts in your eyes. I can also tell people who have had cataract surgery or had LASIK surgery, because you see their eyes have these little flat spots on it. Yeah.
Wow, you look that closely in people's eyes?
You'd be surprised what I learn about you.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Oh, wow. Because people usually tell me they can't tell that I'm wearing contacts.
Yeah. Well, because they're not trained to look for it, right? You listen, you could tell if somebody's tried to learn German, if they've learned German on their own, what kind of train. You can even tell sometimes if they come to you, you go, okay, so they went through Berlitz, because that's the only place you'd learn that or something, right? So you know where people can be trained. My goal is to understand human nature and to understand what you've not said to me that's totally visible. That's just the way
Well, I need to definitely learn how to understand human nature, because I'm selling things and I want to connect with people. And obviously I'm lacking that.
Well, so here's a great way to start. Go to your inner circle and ask people, hey, share something with me that I probably don't know about you. I would love to learn more about you. I'm wanting to get my connections a little bit deeper. Doesn't have to be a thing you've hidden in a corner. Just share something with me that maybe you think I don't know. So here's the question I would ask, and I've asked this at servers and waiters, and if somebody's got a real neat energy about them, I'll say, hey, listen, before we leave, I hope we meet again. But on the outset, on the off chances that we never get a chance to cross in time and space, what's something you'd like me to know about you that most people don't know? And you'll watch their head go, I'll never forget one of the first times I did it. I did it with a group of executives. I had the executive team of a network marketing company. There was 3 of them at the table. We were meeting for breakfast at a local restaurant. And the waitress came over, and this was our first kind of interaction. We had talked on the phone and stuff. They were asking me to come help them understand their people more, to get better to understand. So that wasn't part of my conversation or part of my intention, but this young waitress, she was just amazing. And we're sitting there. I said, hey, listen, I think her name was Annabelle. Annabelle, I hope our paths cross again. But if there was something about you that most people don't know that you would want me to remember about you, what would that be? Oh, I love money. I go, yeah, I bet a lot of people know that about you, though. What's something? She goes, well, I'll have to think about that. And we're talking and we're getting ready to leave. We had already had our last cup of coffee, paid the bill. It was 10 minutes and we're just wrapping up. And as we're starting to slide out to the thing, she goes, excuse me. I said, yes. She goes, can I tell you what I would want you to remember about me? I said, yeah, what's that? She said, I love plants. I go, most people don't know that? She says, no, because I find it hard to keep them alive, but I just love plants. I go, what's a plant you would love to have in your house today? She said, a basket of impatience. I gave her $20. I said, would you please go to the big box store and get yourself an impatience? Because it was that time, springtime.
What's impatience?
It's this flower that grows in the shade, but it's wildly colorful. It looks like pansies, but it's different, and it's just it's a
purple
real
flower?
well. It could be purple, it could be orange, it could be yellow, it could
Oh,
be
okay.
yeah.
I don't know what it is. I'll have to Google it.
Yeah. And so she broke down in tears
Aw.
because she got so excited because nobody ever asked her or helped her to go get an impatience. So I say that to say, and then the three executives said, how did you do that? I said, do what? How did I do what? I said, I just got to know her. I said, you're afraid to ask questions to get to know your team. They said, I don't care what you cost. We're doing work together. I'm like, okay.
I don't think it's that we are, well, for me, I can't speak for other people, that I'm afraid to ask any of these things. I don't think of asking
Right.
them. It just would never cross my mind to ask these things.
So
That
now the
issue
question to ask as you become this disciplined version of you is, I'm going to be disciplined and ask a question I would never ask. What would be because it'll become a question you ask all the time. Who do I become if I begin to connect with people at that level? Who do I become? You no longer become the standoff German, gorgeous blonde attorney that everybody knows.
And who do I become? Someone that people feel actually cares. I mean, I care about people, but I think maybe it doesn't come across.
It doesn't come across because the caring, what happens if you care? So maybe in the past when you cared for things, they disappointed you.
Oh, good. Wow. Good point. They still do.
So now, well, if I care about, listen, the people that loved me and I cared about them and they supposedly cared about me, disappointed me. What the hell is somebody who I don't know? And if I care for them, they're for sure going to disappoint me.
Wow. That's very interesting the way you think. No, I mean, it is just really interesting because I don't think deep. I just think
well, because when you listen, I'll be totally clear with you. You have deep thoughts, but you put them on a shelf real quick because there was a time, and this is for everybody. This is a masterclass Silke is giving you all. Because if you can agree, or if you've ever been in the position she's in right now or felt that way, drop a 1 in the chat. There was a time to where you were all giving and all caring and all loving. Listen, here's why I say this, Silke. You can't be this, and just for conversation, you can't be this standoffish or this cold or this not thinking that way without ever having thought that way.
Do you think I'm cold?
I think there's a part of you that protects yourself. I don't consider it cold, but there's a lot of people who might say, oh, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, she'll talk to you and stuff, but you'll just get surface level. And they pass it off as, well, she's German. Of course she's that way, which I think is a horrible stereotype, probably true, but I don't see it that way.
No, and I don't see it that way either because I don't think I'm like that.
Like a lot of Germans.
Because yes, that is very German, but
but you're not that. My point is that there was a point in time to where you were wildly carefree and open and giving and sharing, and then somebody slammed the door shut. And it's not only locked on the outside, it's locked on the inside. There's been people who've tried to get in, and you're like, I got my security on level 7. on a level of 5. So the point is that what happens if you start to let people in by caring for them with knowing that they will never ever have a chance to care back for you? Abigail, maybe that was your name. Abigail would never get a chance to care for me. But I can promise you, if she went and bought that Impatiens, which I think I asked her to text me,
the
or send me a
lady,
picture. The waitress.
Waitress.
I said, please send me a photo, right? Because I like to hold people accountable. Please send me a photo when you get the picture. When you get the, I don't have the photo anymore because it was on a previous phone. It normally gets downloaded, but I would save that photo. And I saw her, and she had it. It was a hanging basket, and she had it, and the smile on her face was 10 feet wide. And that was when I would have the down days, thinking, am I making a difference?
Oh, she actually sent you the photo.
Oh yeah. No, it's amazing what happens when you say, hey, listen, show me when you're having a good time. People will do that.
Oh, that's great too. Yes, of course. Because most people don't ask these.
They don't.
Yeah,
And
see,
since
you asking questions and you thinking of asking these questions that, yeah, I reach out to other people expecting to get that type of help, but evidently this type of help can only come from you. So perhaps I just don't reach out enough to you.
well, listen, please feel free to do this because you deserve the success you're seeking. And I don't want you to have that. I ask and nobody helps. Jim Rohn would say, you're not a tree, move. Change your circles, change the people that you ask people things to differently. Now, you and I have some great, I don't want to say knockdown, with some pickup conversations to where I challenge you, and I think you're good with that. You like it. You may not always enjoy it in the exact moment, but you're strong enough and smart enough to go, I want better.
Yeah, I always want better.
And so
I don't mind you challenging me. Yes, sometimes I'm not too happy with what it is you say. Or maybe you're just asking way too many questions and I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, this
just
is
give me
a
the
lot
damn
of
answer.
questions. I just wanted an answer. I didn't want to answer all these questions. So yes, I'm very honest, but yes, I do. I know I need to change. I know I don't have the people skills that I need. Yes, I can approach people, I can talk to them, but I would never think, like I said, and this is pretty crazy, I would never think of asking the kind of questions or saying the kind of things to people that you do.
Well, listen, I wasn't always this way. I just learned from experience, right?
Right.
That's why. So here's a question. So here's the thing. Does your AI, can it make pictures?
No.
Okay. So what you want to do is go Google a hairbrush, go Google for a post, go Google a hairbrush full of hair and say, are you afraid to brush your hair because of this? Because the brush may look like this, and just post that up there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, let me write that down.
And maybe go ask your AI, what are the fears going through the mind of a mom, or maybe even somebody who's single, right? They've had their divorce and they're divorced at 40 and their hair's falling out. What do you think their self-esteem is like? And ask psychologically, and just from the hair falling out, what is the psychological feeling a woman feels when they look at their hairbrush and it's full of hair? And just start to investigate that path, because you'll be surprised the psychology and the studies that have been done and the research that has been done on women losing their hair, what it does to them, what it does to them emotionally, physically, what it does to their body, their actual health.
Yeah.
And then you can start to pick at any one of those indicators. Are you gaining weight because your hair's falling out? Because they're so stressed? Little different things like that. You'll be amazed at what are the conditions that somebody experiences when their hair starts to fall out.
Wow. You are full of nuggets this morning. And here I've been trying for the last 3 days to contact the wrong people, evidently, to get this help. I don't know why I didn't ask you, but here I am and asking. So now
There you go. I
I'm
love it.
going to post this. So thank you very much.
You are welcome.
And I love you. And
you too.
thank you. And I love everyone else that is still here listening to this. So I hope they can also learn something from this, because yes, this was definitely a mastermind. So thank you.
You're welcome, Selka. Thanks for being vulnerable. Because here's the neat thing. You asking, it's still a level of vulnerability. The
Yes.
part of you that says, but I need to ask. I'm not afraid of being vulnerable. I get it. But there's people out there that wouldn't have asked. It just shows your determination, which a lot of times people can consider, well, she's just strong-willed. No, she's determined. And she's not afraid of saying, I don't know. And
Yeah.
so those are huge pluses. And then when you do hear it, you're like immediately implementing, which
Yes.
is fantastic. So congratulations.
Well, thank you. I will immediately implement it right now.
I know you will.
I am a woman of action. When I have something that I want to do and I have concrete things that I've been looking for, yes, I implement. Even if I just have a little nugget, I implement.
Yep.
That's why I asked the question. So yes, I don't mind being vulnerable, because I don't care what other people think, because they're not paying my bills.
Right.
So, you know,
How do you
until
say vulnerable in German?
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
Empfindlich.
Infantlich?
Yeah, empfindlich.
Infantlich.
Yes.
Wow. Infant. That's
Empfindlich, not in. M.
infant. Okay. So
I'm
my
gonna write
brain
it
went
for you. M.
infantlich. So my brain went to infant, right? Baby, small, young. Okay. Infantlich.
Yes, empfindlich.
Empfindlich.
Can you see it?
Empfindlich. Cool. Yep.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Love it. All right, everybody. I love you tons. I appreciate you. Be aware that as you become more disciplined, you are going to have some fascinating experiences. And if you're aware of them, you can go, ooh, I'm on the right track, right? These are the mile markers you're looking for. If you're ever gone to a place you've never been, you look for road maps, you look for road signs, you look for landmarks. And the landmarks you're going to experience on your way to discipline is that people are going to start saying, you are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So as your brain training, mental toughness, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs misfit, I'll see y'all where?
The next event.
At the next event. Somebody give me some Costa Ricas.
Pura vida.
Vida.
We love you, Mark. And some Lydias.
Peace be with us.
Peace be with us all. And the queen of helping you find things you didn't know you were looking for, Jessie Lee Ward.
Bosley.
Bosley, we love you, girl. And the little white fluffy.
Gurgly.
Gurgly. We love you, feet. All right, everybody, go have some fun today. We will see you tomorrow morning. Tomorrow is Friday. Yes, tomorrow morning. Love you tons. Bye for now.
Love you too.
Peace, Emily. Love you.